Determine the length of x as an exact value in simplest radical form. So if we take a look at this figure here, we'll see that the length of this side will be the length of this side minus the length of this side. Okay, so we can put this together as an expression where we subtract the length, this length here, which is the length of this side, from the length of this side, which is this. So if we do that, we will get 8 times the square root of 2 plus 2 times the square root of 12. Right? This here is the length here. Minus, and then we need to put this entire expression in brackets because we're subtracting this entire expression from this expression. Minus 5 times the square root of 27 minus 4 times the square root of 18. Now, in the next step, what we want to do is to get rid of these brackets. When we do that, because there is a negative sign in front of it, in front of the bracket, every sign within the bracket will have to change. So this negative sign here will become positive. So if we rewrite this expression, we'll get and then it'll be plus 4 times the square root of 18. Okay, now what we would like to do here is to combine these terms and simplify it. Now, in order to do that, we need to have the same radicands in all of the terms, so in several of the terms. Right now, our radicands, so that's the number under the radical sign, are 2, 12, 27, and 18. So what we're going to do here is we are going to simplify all the terms, the radical in all the terms, to its simplest mixed radical form. Okay, so the way we would do that is that we factor each radical. So this radicand here 2, we can factor that, so it'll just stay the same. 12, the radicand 12, we can factor that into 4 and 3. So we can write this as 2 times the square root of 4 times 3, because 4 times 3 is 12. Now, we'll notice here that one of these factors, 4, is a perfect square, which means that if we take the square root of 4, we get a whole number. Next term, 5 times the square root of, well, let's factor 27 in such a way that, again, one of the factors we get will be a perfect square. In this case, there will be 9 times 3. 9 times 3 is 27. Plus 4. And then we do the same thing with 18. So the two factors here will be 9 and 2. 9 times 2 is 18. Now, what we can do now is we can split all the radicals with our two terms as radicands. We can split those into two separate radicals. So remember the product rules for the product rule for radicals, which looks something like this. If we're multiplying two radicands like this, this can be split into the square root of the first one times the square root of the second one. Okay, so which means that we can split these three terms apart, so there are two radicals in each one. If we do that, we would get 2 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 3 minus 5 times the square root of 9 times the square root of 3 plus 4 times the square root of 9 times the square root of 2. Okay, now we already know that 4, 9, and 9 again here, these three numbers are perfect squares. So we can take the square root of these three numbers and get a whole number. So let's do that. So it'll be 2 square root of 4 is 2. So 2 times 2 times the square root of 3. So square root of 9 is 3. So it'll be 5 times 3 times the square root of 3 plus 4 times, again, square root of 9 is 3, times the square root of 2. And in the next step, what we can do is we combine these terms together. So 2 times 2, 5 times 3, 4 times 3. So we would get 2 times 2 is 4 times the square root of 3. 5 times 3 is 15 times the square root of 3. And 4 times 3 is 12 times the square root of 2. And now if you take a look at these 4 terms, we notice that 2 of the terms, this one here, have the same radicand. The radicand here is 2, the radicand here is 2. And the other 2 terms have a radicand of 3. And what we can do is we can combine the terms that have the same radicand. So I'm going to continue over here. So what we can do here is we can combine this term and this term. 8 plus 12 is 20. And then we keep the radical the same, so it'll be square root of 2. And then these 2 terms here, so 4 minus 15, don't forget that there's a negative sign there. 4 minus 15 is negative 11. And then we keep the radical the same, times the square root of 3. So here is our final answer. So x equals this expression. This is in the simplest mixed radical form, and that is our answer. The length of this side here is this.